Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 170. Today is January 20th, 2014. Welcome to 2014, guys. Glad you're here. We've took a little bit of a hiatus, a little bit of a holiday break for the past couple of weeks. Just trying to get everything back in order, enjoying some family time with everybody and just having an all around good time. I mean, I'm sure everybody had a great I hope everybody had a great holiday at least. Some time off work, off school, whatever type of walk of life you're in at this point in time. Let's see here. So we've got a pretty small show for you. It was going to be pretty big. I had a couple of things lined up, but just as things go, things fall through. So it's all good. We're going to do some Born of the Gods stuff from Magic. We're going to be talking about favorite games from 2013. Keep in mind, we're going to be doing favorite games of 2013. I printed out a list right here of games from 2013, and let me tell you this: there has been a ton of games that released. Now, granted, this list includes like iOS and Droid and stuff like that. But there's been a shitload of games, and it kind of makes me sad because like I'm reading through these lists. I'm only highlighting like maybe one or two a page. I'm like, man, I really didn't play like a wide range of games. Like I really kind of stuck to what I didn't veer off very much. I picked up two games, and I'll get into it at that when we get to that segment. Two games that really interested me. Outside of what I normally would play. So not a very big experimental year. And that might have had something to do with, the end of the year, the Xbox One launching and stuff like that. But I really just didn't see too much outside of like what I was expecting to play. Like if you would have said, hey, these 6 games are coming out in 2013, what 7th game would you buy? I would be hard pressed to find something. But nevertheless, I did go through and find a couple that I want to pick up and play, in 2014, kind of like a back catalog, if you will. We'll talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about, I was listening to the Shack News Weekend Confirmed podcast, and they had a really good episode where they were talking about Nintendo. And I kind of want to jump on that. I'm not really one for ripping off ideas, and I give them full credit. This is a great topic, and there was some really good discussion. Unfortunately, co-host and guest are not with me, so I can't really have a roundtable discussion. It's more of like a monologue, actually. But anyway, it's still going to be fun. Still kind of get some ideas out there, and you guys can post in the comments what you think. Or shoot an email over to ballandchainpodcast@gmail.com. We can, if anybody wants to throw their 2 cents in there, we can do that. So let's talk about, first before we get into the segments, let's talk about what we've been playing, or what I've been playing. Recently started playing not Black Ops, excuse me. We just sold Black Ops 2. Call of Duty Ghosts. Really enjoying it. Campaign is what you would expect from a Call of Duty game. Multiplayer is a lot more fun. It's one of those games where you can count on it being a staple every release. Unless you're one of those nitpickers or whatever that, oh well, it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. It's the game evolves. And some things have to go and some things have to stay, and just I'd have to say like they're making these changes based on popularity, based on the information they get from their results. Well, no one's using, for example, no one's using this perk, or only 8% of our millions of people use this perk. So let's find something that would speak better to the general population, and try and get everybody using. What I mean. Try and broaden that out a little bit, or I think another thing would be the general population is using these 3 perks. Why aren't they using the other ones? Or what I mean, like. So it's stuff like that they're making changes to, and it's stuff comes back, and it's a lot of fun. nevertheless. But we did pick up another controller, so we were able to play split screen. And split screen online gaming is always it's always one of those things where you're like you're always worrisome about it, and you're like, do I really want to put up with it? I have to say like Halo and the Halo series has really fallen off the boat when it comes to the split screen, the split screen gameplay. It's a lot laggier. I don't want to say laggier. There's definitely some frame rate issues, especially when you get a bigger game of more than 6 people going, more than 8 people going. When you have 6v6, and the other thing that we noticed in that game is if it's one of the maps that 343 made, then you're good. But if it's a Forge made map, then even the Forge made maps from 343 are really laggy. You can tell the system's just not ready for it. Even on single screen, it's the exact same way. But split screen is unplayable almost. So, but anyway, Ghosts turns out really good. Not You can see there's a little bit of an issue, but it's not one. It's one of those things where the game is still playable, still fun. It's easy to jump in and jump out of games. Jump out of games, make a change. You can even make changes in between games or whatever to your classes and stuff like that. So it's still a lot of fun. I enjoy it. We're enjoying it. I got Angel in on it. She's she was going through the call cards or whatever that you put behind the banners you put behind your character, and she sees the rainbow one, and finds out that, oh, you get that once you unlock all the characters or whatever, because like apparently on top of loadouts you can now have character or different characters or whatever, which each level up independently. I think they're part of your squad or whatever. I really haven't read that far into it. But I think as far what I remember, the squad thing goes pretty deep as to what squads are playing. You can play squad battle and they're just NPCs and stuff like that. It's like offline type of stuff. But at any rate, it's one of those things that's they added in. I don't think many people are taking advantage of it, but we'll see. I'm going to check it out because it looks like it could be a lot of fun. At any rate, she saw that and she started playing and not leveling up her guns or unlocking guns. I'm like, what are you using here? What are you doing? She's like, well, I'm going to unlock all those guys. So, she saves up about 20 points or whatever, 20 COD points or whatever, skill points or whatever they call them. And, she starts unlocking them. And she gets down to the, final 3, and then the next one's 200 points. And the one after that's 500 points, and then 700 points or whatever. And she's like, oh, well, that's not good. So she got a little bit more work to do on on unlocking that, unlocking the actual banner or whatever. So it still looks pretty cool. But I'm impressed. There's a couple really cool maps. There's definitely a wide range of maps, which is good. Not many people are gonna, get this. Not everybody has the same type of play style. So having 6 large maps and 1 small map doesn't make much sense. So they've got a couple big maps, a couple medium maps, and a couple small maps. And the nice thing is each of these maps has a couple sections where you can consider, like, if that's where you spawn and that's where you're fighting, can be considered a big map because you've got like long fire lines, long sight lines, lots of cover. And then in the bigger maps, you have sections of the map that are very close quartered. That if you get like an assault rifle or a shotgun or dual pistols or whatever, you're kind of set in those areas. But once you venture out of them, for instance, like for the castle level, I don't remember what it's called. But anyway, in the castle map, you actually have the village, and then like the closer in between the village and the actual structure of the castle, there's some ruins or whatever. Down in those ruins, there's very close quarter combat. So it's not all about the sniper on that level. You can if you can hold down the actual village with assault rifles, you just need a red dot or even an ACOG scope, and you can definitely hold down that side, no problem. But start venturing out, you're going to need some long distance shooting and some long distance coverage. So that's what we've really been digging in that. Dead Rising 3. Let me talk about this. Love this game. Dead Rising 3. I don't know if anybody remembers the Xbox One or Xbox 360 launch with Dead Rising 1, the original, and how much of an eye opener that game was, and how fun, just pure joy that game was. You know, it didn't look the best, it didn't play the best, it didn't have like the it didn't have like the gameplay aspect that we were used to. Over in the United States, we're not, we aren't used to the you're dead and you got to start the game over. There is no saving, anywhere you want. We're used to I can push, Control S and that saves or whatever, or pause menu, autosave or whatever. There is no autosave. The autosave is you got to be back at the save point, and there's only one to save. Like, that's it. There's nothing else. And if you die, you die. Now they did make it to where your stats you didn't lose your stats. So if you died, at level 19 as a level 19 Frank, you started the game as a level 19, which is awesome. They also did the whole ending if you had died whenever you did in this year in that episode. So all in all, I'm getting a lot of the same vibes, a lot of the same feelings from the first one that I am with the third one. Graphics are definitely improved for one. The amount of zombies on screen is insane. The different types of zombies. I've just started getting involved. I just made it through to the school, the elementary school, and I'm interacting with the football zombies that are a pain in the ass to kill. First of all, and when they tackle you, it does nothing but attract more zombies, and you get crowded, and then shit really starts to hit the fan. One of the first zombies that you encounter is the fireman zombie, who is really hard to take down. I mean, you have to, even like if you hit them with like a rocket launcher, like an RPG or whatever, they will still get up. It's one of those things you almost have to hit them with a car a couple of times to actually take them down. And that kind of leads me into my next point. This game has received some ridicule about the driving aspect of it, and how, well, I got to go to point A to point B, and you've got this awesome, build your own stuff, type of or build your own weapons mechanic, and I can do it anywhere, which is an improvement over the last game, where you had to get to a workbench to put nails in a board, whatever the hell that's, or a bat or whatever. Why can't I just bend down and do that now? Well, with DR3, you can do that wherever you want. So that's great. It's a great, huge improvement. Much appreciated improvement. But people are saying, well, I get these awesome weapons, and you have me get in a vehicle and go over, 1,200 yards or 1,200 feet or whatever to the next waypoint. And there's millions of zombies that I could be using my awesome weapons on, but you have me driving. And they give you some vehicle variations where you can create vehicles and stuff like that. But at any rate, it's kind of what you make out of it. You get out of this game what you put into it. And the fact that, you could just get a 2x4 and some pistols and you'll be set and drive your way to these points. You won't have a problem with the game. The fun part is exploring and having your own adventure. I find if time is an issue, I will get in a car and go that route, or a motorcycle, and combine a motorcycle and a steamroller or cement roller. By the way, is an awesome vehicle. That thing is sweet. You can in this game you can combine vehicles. For instance, the motorcycle and the steamroller, or whatever, the cement roller, and you basically have a motorcycle where the front wheel is the roller. It's got spikes, and you've got you can alternate fire, and it'll shoot flames out the front of it. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. Very deadly. And it's just one of those things where you have to create your own adventure. You have to almost role play this game for it to be fun, for you to find fun. Are you going to find fun if you pull out a pistol, keep a pistol with you at all times you know, and a baseball bat? Yeah, you'll have fun. It's going to be it's going to be a simple zombie killer. It's going to be a higher res version of like, Left 4 Dead where you're trying to get from point A to point B. Yeah, you'll have fun. The other thing that they upgraded, and this is kind of what the subtitle of the game should be: Dead Rising 3, all the shit we learned from 1 and 2 even better. You know what I mean? Like, this game is amazing. So like, one of the things that they did, and I didn't really like it at first because I didn't appreciate it, but you come across these random civilians that you need to help, and really all you have to do is clear the zombies out around them and they're good to go. They say thank you and they go off and run. You get extra or PP points, or experience points or whatever, which is fine, but you don't escort them anymore. Well, there are some that you do escort. They're the main ones that you escort from point A to point B, and that's one of the things I kind of miss is the number of people that you did escort in 1 and 2. You could have like 6 or 7 or 8 or however many people escorting. You could give them all most of them. Some of them you had to carry, but anyway, you could give most of them weapons. And they could fight alongside you. They weren't very good. They did have infinite ammo, which is awesome. So you give them a pistol. Usually I find if you give them an assault rifle, they kind of go nuts and, spray and pray and spray, and you kind of get hit in the crossfire. So if you have a pistol, they're usually pretty accurate and you only get hit once in a while. But for the most part, you got, 7 guys behind you shooting pistols or having bats or whatever. You can do pretty well. In this one, they improved the swapping system, which is great, but you don't have nearly as many people that you can escort at the same time. So it's a little more difficult to kind of build that army, which was amazing in the second one. And the first one was The second one, there was a pretty big army that you could acquire if you hit the side quests just right. You could really get like a group of 6 or 7 able bodies that were able to shoot, and you didn't have to carry them or whatever. And it really made the game a lot of fun. It made it feel like you were part of a team or whatever. But with this one, it's a little more free formed. I haven't tried the multiplayer yet. I'm really kind of the co-op. That's going to be really interesting. I know Ducky's got it, and we're going to be hopefully hooking up here to play some Dead Rising soon. Really want to get into that. I know co-op, everything's always better with co-op. And, the zombie apocalypse may not sound like something that'd be fun, but, combining weapons together and, covering each other, completing quests, clearing out rooms, stuff like that's a lot, just sounds like nothing but fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. All in all, I'm really enjoying this game. And I haven't even finished it yet. It's one of those things where I'm getting sidetracked. I'll finish a main part of a story, and then I'm like, oh man, I've got 3 sub things, and they're about done. I need to go run these through, real quick, and then whatever. So really easy to get sidetracked. A lot of fun, and it's one of those things where you finish a quest, and there's something right next to you that you can build or whatever, and a new weapon that you can build, and there's the parts to do it right there, and to build it. It's a lot of fun. What can I say? So that's Dead Rising 3. The other game that I've been playing a little bit of, and I make this one kind of short so we can kind of get to the gist of the podcast here, is Halo Spartan Assault. This game released for Windows phones a couple months ago, and they just released it for the Xbox One. Again, I've only played the single player, haven't really done the co-op version of it yet, but it's a lot of fun. You get your top-down twin-stick shooter with a mask of Halo. You've got, you're fighting against grunts, you're fighting against, ghosts, you're fighting against the elites, picking up grenades, switching weapon. It's a lot of fun. For any Halo player out there, if you're haven't played Halo, first of all, you need to get out from under a rock and play Halo 1, the original, for the original Xbox. Halo CE Anniversary was okay. But Halo 1 on the Xbox, experience it the way it was meant to be played on the original Xbox controller. The S or the Duke, whichever. But, for the most part, it's a lot of fun. It's one of those games where you can sit down and you can play hours. You can play literally 3, 4 hours at a time, or you can sit down and you can knock out a chapter in, 15, 20 minutes. It's just, it's a good old fashioned arcade fun. Now, is this something that's going to give you, 12, 13 hours of gameplay experience that's going to be, you know, nail biting, riveting, awesome content like, some of the original first person shooters? Not really. This is more of a shoot 'em up game. A lot of fun. No, it's not going to do that. But it is one of those games like, hey, you want to sit down and play some games, pass a controller around. It's one of those games where you and two or three buddies can sit down on the couch. You can't play together, but you can do the pass a controller thing like we used to do with the 64, the Super NES, stuff like that. Single player games can be played with friends. It's got online co-op, which is kind of neat. But anyway, so that's what I've been playing. Looking forward to getting into a couple other games here soon. Let's see here. I did finish Beyond Two Souls, which we'll talk about that next week. And I finished GTA 5, so we'll talk about both those games next week. I'll get a full review written up on both of those, but both outstanding games. Really, really good games, from storytelling, from all the way from storytelling to graphics to gameplay. Like, if you haven't bought it yet, you should. It's one of those, you can't really miss either one of them. If you've got PS3, pick up Beyond Two Souls. It's an awesome game. Okay, so let's talk about some Born of the Gods real quick. We'll knock this out. So there's a couple of good cards that they just announced over the past couple weeks that really have me interested in this new set. I've been playing a lot of green lately. My green black deck, my overgrown deck, or whatever you want to call it, overgrown deck, which originally stemmed from Corpse Jack Menace and so the +1/+1 counters, and beefing up these little creatures to huge, massive beasts. Has now dropped black, so no more Corpse Jack Menace. It's black blue, or green blue. More of a Simic deck. And every day it seems like it's getting a little bit more Simic, which I was kind of trying to lean away from. I didn't want to go that route, but it just seems like, almost every deck, has blue, some form of blue in it. And the more I thought about it, I need some control in there, so blue is obviously the way to go. And there's some cheaper versions of Corpse Jack in Simic's lineup, so I don't need. I dropped black only because I had like 2 or 3 cards outside of Corpse Jack that required a swamp. So, I had some regeneration, stuff like that, and I found, well, regeneration is great. However, if I could just counter a damn spell, I wouldn't need to regenerate cards. I could give my creature hexproof. I could give, the Simic Charm is amazing. It's so universal to a lot of different scenarios. Hexproof alone, we've been going to Friday Night Magic. The Hexproof alone has been saving my ass left, right, and center. The +3/+3, I'm just now starting to use with the when I'm dropping in a bunch of creatures in one turn. Giving the Master Biomancer +3/+3 till end of turn. So all those creatures that I drop in that turn come in with 5 extra +1/+1 counters. It's just stuff like that, little tricks like that, the one thing that I am running into is being able to finish an opponent. Some of the things that I have right now, the only way I have trample with some of my creatures is with the gods. The green god, I only have 2 in my deck, and that's what I'm working with right now. But some of these cards that I'm looking at here, for instance, I don't, like I said, these are all, I haven't play tested any of them, so, but it's just sparking interest. These archetypes, the new set has 5 archetypes, one for each color. And this is it's a creature that gives all of your creatures something and takes that same thing away from all of the opponent's creatures. So, for instance, the green one, which sparked my interest, it's a 6/5 creature for 8, 2 green and 6 colorless. Creatures you control have hexproof, which is outstanding. The fact that it says all your creatures, not other creatures. So this guy himself will have hexproof. Your opponent's creatures your opponent controls lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof. So they can't give themselves hexproof, which is outstanding. All of their hexproof creatures lose it. So being able to destroy creatures is a little bit easier. But I would use this almost on more of an offensive thing. I do have in my sideboard quite a bit of bounce out of blue, so being able to return hexproof creatures is outstanding. I'm looking forward to that. So, let's see here. The other one that really has sparked my interest. There's 2 of them. There's this Felhide Spirit Bender, and it's a 3/4 with one of the new abilities. It's a 3/4 for 1 red and 3 colorless. And what you're looking at has Inspired. Inspired is a new mechanic that Wizards has put out just for this set. Basically, when this creature becomes untapped, you can pay a red and a colorless. And if you do, you put a token in the battlefield that's a copy of another creature, except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types. It gains haste, and also at the you get at the beginning of the next end step. So not this turn, but the next your opponent's turn, you have to exile it at the end step. So, couple good things. If you copy a vigilant creature, you can attack with it and block with it. If you have a way to untap it after attacking with it, you can do so. If you just flat out need a blocker, do it. I have a feeling it'd be nice if they've reprinted Puppet Strings. I'm kind of interested in that. Although the one, that's an artifact, and they did release a Puppet Strings like creature, which has got me super excited, and it's in green blue as well. So it's a 2/2 for 1 green, 1 blue, and you can tap him and untap another target permanent. So another great aspect of this is you can untap land, the Nyx land, which is great. You can untap creatures that have the Inspired or whatever, stuff like that. And you can attack with stuff, and then you have an extra blocker or whatever. Land that comes into play tapped, you can untap that stuff. It's a wide range of uses. The other card that I'm really enjoying is another green card, and it's a lot of fun. Like the amount of green cards in this deck, in this set, really has me excited. This one is Unravel the Ether. It's 1 green and 1 colorless, an instant spell. You can choose target artifact or enchantment, and its owner shuffles it into his or her library. So, you're looking at someone dropping a Thassa. No, not so much. You're going to go ahead and shuffle that Thassa back into your library. An artifact, artifacts and stuff like that for you EDH people out there. This is an awesome spell to get rid of those artifacts. Just stuff like that in general, just to keep the playing field, that much more, that much more in chaos. It's controlled chaos, but one of the nice things about my deck is that it's I usually have 2 mana untapped. At least now the changes I've made, I've put in some smaller creatures, and the likelihood of me having 2 mana untapped is very high. So I definitely will be putting at least 2 of these in my set. Maybe putting 1 in my side, 1 and 1, 2 in the main board, or 1 in the main board, 1 in sideboard. Just depending on the level of artifact and enchantment my opponent's playing with. The last card I wanted to talk about is it's another instant. It's 3 blue mana, and you can put a token in the battlefield that's a copy of target creature you control. If it's your turn, you can scry, or scry 2. So again, they're giving you the opportunity to cast it as an instant, which is great. Copying a creature for 3 is great. It's unfortunate that it's a creature you control. That is one of the downfalls to it. But hey, you know what? If it's a creature that you control that's been tapped or whatever, you know, that's all, all the more reason, you can still block with it. It's still able to attack to the next turn. There's a wide range of uses for this whole thing. If they're doing a removal spell or a bounce spell or whatever, this is a great way to get a copy of it during their turn or whatever. Plenty of different uses for it. All in all, set looks really good. Kind of excited. There's a couple things going on. Coming up around, they've got the midnight release and then a whole bunch of other stuff for game day next day. So really excited about that. All right, so let's get into our features here. Let's talk about 2013 games, which I did not make a segment for. That stinks. Oh well. Anyway, so let's wrap up 2013. Some of my favorite games, and like I said, these are my favorite games. So not necessarily, I haven't played everything, obviously, but the games that I did play, these are the ones that I really enjoyed. So let's start off. I numbered 7 of them, so we'll go starting at 7. So the top 7. Number 1 is Injustice: Gods Among Us. Was able to play this game on the 360 or on the PS3. Wow, gorgeous game, outstanding. And I'm not really a huge fighting fan. I've played the Street Fighter series and stuff like that. Mortal Kombat is usually my go-to one. So this one actually kind of spoke to me a little bit more than the Street Fighter series does. Gorgeous game. Lots of characters to pick from. All in all, as a solid fighter, one of the only fighters that we got to enjoy this year. The competition, while the competition wasn't very strong, this game came out and really provided a kind of like a, not really a need but a want for this type of game. Superhero games, especially in the fighting sense, really haven't been all that popular. If you remember back to the one that I think they did one with Mortal Kombat, horrible game. You have like these, like when you do a crossover like that, it's kind of one of those things where Mortal Kombat is very bloody, very gory, and you have like the DC comics, which not so bloody, not so gory. So when you mix the two, you kind of, okay, well, do we have Superman bleed? Do we have Batman bleed? Do we have, people ripping spines out? No, we don't have that. We don't have that. So you really start to take away from one, and then the other one starts to overload the other one, and you just get basically a half-assed game between the two series. Well, this time around, the developer decided, developer just did just the DC characters, which is outstanding because it doesn't feel like one's overpowering the other one. There's the great there's a wide range of move sets, so it's a lot of fun. Really did enjoy it. One of my favorite games of the year. Number 6, we're gonna go with Halo Spartan Assault. This is, like I said, guys, this is an awesome game. One of the games that I really enjoyed, not only as a Halo fan, but as a top-down shooter, twin stick shooter. It's just all around good fun. Not many games can give you this type of fun without having you roped into your computer screen or your TV screen for hours on end. With this game, there's very little to learn. The controls are very simple, and you're having a good time. There's explosions going on. You've got the same sound. The sounds in this game are amazing. And that's one of the things that really rope you in, that you can latch onto if you're a the Halo franchise, like the first person shooter fan. The screen orientation is not the same, so you're not, that's not from very, not familiar. The one-on-one battles with the grunts and the elites, that's kind of similar, but it's not the same as the first-person shooter. But the sounds are what really bring you in and what really tie this game to the series. And like you kind of reminisce about, oh my god, remember when coming down, on the Pillar of Autumn, and shit was exploding all over the place, and grunts were landing in and taking over, and there was the elites that were taking over, and you were just now getting into the series. Had a lot of that excitement going around it, which I'm excited. So if you haven't played it yet, definitely go ahead and download it. It's $15, definitely worth it, worth every penny. Number 5, I've got BioShock Infinite. There's a lot of controversy about this game. Just all around, everyone's like, oh, the first hour is great, but it completely abandons the thought process, the meat of this actual game, and you just kind of go into a standard shooter gallery. And while that's that's true, I'm not gonna lie. The undertones of the political and the status of all the characters does kind of get pushed to the side as the game goes on. But BioShock is just fun. They switch they call it like the salts or whatever, the different abilities that you gain. These are the same ones from BioShock 1 and 2, or very similar ones. The mechanic of jumping around the rail battles, lots of fun. While they're arena based, so obviously you can't go anywhere you want or do whatever you want. But just the idea of jumping from one to the other in the middle of battle, you're swinging along one, you're firing at them while you're jumping through the air, and you both clash or whatever, come down to the ground, and whatever the case may be, the battles are epic in this game. The world is gorgeous. The weapons are a lot of fun to play with, and the plasmids or whatever are still a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed about the game, is the combination of plasmids and weapons. How do I use this this plasmid to take control of this guy to create turmoil in the battlefield? And that's kind of how I approached this game, was making this game play out the way I wanted. I walked into this battle with the thought process of, I'm not just going to shoot these guys. I'm going to create this diversion, and create this, create the battle, and not just using my weapons. I'm going to be using the plasmids as well. And what I found was the combination of the two really, just like the first two, spoke very well, played out very well. The battlefields are open enough to where you could really approach it the way you wanted to, and with some of the battlefield having the rails or whatever, that made it that much more fun, that much more accessible, and it also gave you that much more options when it came time for larger battles. I'm not talking like one or two guys. I'm talking about when you're fighting like upwards of 5, 6, 7, 8 guys at a time. And all in all, it's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Number 4, Beyond Two Souls. We'll talk about it next week, but this game is dynamite, guys. It's a lot of fun. Extremely immersive. One of those games that you can play it with a friend. Like Amanda, she played through it in a couple days. And it's funny to watch, while she finished a couple days, I took my time through it or whatever. And I space game days out a little bit more than she did, but it's fun to talk with her. It's one of those games that you can talk to each other about after both of you have experienced. Like, oh, what did you do? Oh, what did you do? You did that. Oh, you saved that person. You did this. It's one of those games where you get a lot of human interaction with from people that have played the game. So all in all, it's one of those titles that if you've got someone that's played it or whatever, or someone that has it, borrow it, and you have conversations that are really in depth and a lot of fun to share with another human being. So I really truly enjoyed it. So let's see here. Number three, Dead Rising 3. I raved about it earlier today, so I'm not going to go too far into it. Other than the fact that this game has taken what 1 and 2 did and took it further. They corrected the issues that the 1 and 2 had, they corrected some of the dull spots that 1 and 2 had, and just made the game bigger, a lot more fun, a lot more energy, a lot more, just all around fun. Good old fashioned fun. So that should be the name of my list. Good old fashioned fun. If your game's not fun, it's not on my list. Number two, Last of Us. This one kind of goes without saying. This game was amazing. Post-apocalyptic, driven world, couple factions fighting each other. You've got some supernatural things going on, in the background, you got undertones of that stuff. Just, it's one of those games that, you can't, I really don't know what else. I mean, I got chills when I played this game because it was just so much, just on your edge, like great storytelling, great mechanics, great gunplay, just all around fun gameplay. One of those things that you can come back to time and time again. It's one of those showcase games that you can say, hey, look what, you're thinking about buying a PS4 and you haven't played this game yet. Buy this game and play it on your PS3 because right now there's really not a lot to play on the 360 or on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and you haven't played this yet. You have to give this a try. It's an outstanding game. My number one is GTA 5. I just recently finished it, but there's just so much content packed into that disc. It's really unbelievable. Like Rockstar truly outdid themselves. The game looks gorgeous. The weapons are fun, GTA style fun. Vehicles are each vehicle has a different feel, which is nice. There's the terrain, going from the city, Los Santos, to like the outskirts. There's just so much fun to be had. From skydiving, piloting airplanes, boats, all. I mean, there's just. I mean, I've probably put a good 20 hours, 25 hours into that game, and I'm still like not even close to scratching the surface of like what else is out there. The all the side missions. While I did do a good portion of them, I started a bunch of them with each of the characters. This is one of those things where you can, you know, get your fill of the main story, and then you'll still have tenfold of sub story to get through. And the way they integrated the three characters, and people argue that the Trevor story is the Trevor character is completely fucked up, and like that's not what gaming needs or whatever. But to tell you the truth, that was one of the most fun times, most fun part of the games that I had was just that's what GTA turns into, one time or another for anybody. You know, at some point you run into a cop, and then you're like, oh shit, so now I gotta lose the cop, and in the meantime, and in the process of losing the cop, you run over a couple of pedestrians, so now you're at star level 2, and then ram a couple barricades, star level 3, and eventually you're there or whatever, and you're like, damn it, how the hell do I get out of this or whatever, so then you get out of your car and you start shooting people up. You're like, well, there's no way I'm going to ditch this, these helicopters and these tanks. I might as well have some fun. So, everybody gets to that point. If you haven't gotten to that point, then something's not right. You're being too careful. You need to relax a little bit and run over some pedestrians every once in a while. No, anyway, the my idea behind the game is, you had Michael, who was, the experienced criminal trying to retire, and not, one of those people that wants to live in the past. And it's time for him to go. And then you've got the young gun. I can't. His name's eluding me for now. Dang it. I can't think of it off the top of my head. That's how awesome this game is. I can't remember the main characters. Holy shit. Anyway, um, so you've got the young kid who's just now getting into the the crime scene, and then you have Trevor, who's he lives in the present, and he's completely batshit crazy, and one of those guys that you don't know what's going to happen next, and that's what keeps the story fresh and fun. Like, when you switch characters, and you switch from Franklin, that's his name. When you switch, like, from Franklin, who's you know at the barber shop, or he's picking up his car or eating or whatever in his house, and you switch to Trevor, who's on the side of a building peeing or something, like, what the fuck, and he's in his underwear and his hiking boots, what the fuck, what is this, like, really, like. So it's always like, okay, so now I'm Trevor walking around in my underwear, my tidy whities, in the middle of Los Santos. What do you want to do? Let's go rob a bank. Sounds like a good idea. So it's just one of those things where you're like, all right, why not? We're already batshit crazy. Let's turn it to 11. So anyway, so that's my top seven that I've enjoyed for 2013. Some of the games that enjoyed I enjoyed demos or played lightly that I want to go back to in 2014. Crisis 3. Got to play a little bit of that. Rented that for a couple days. Really enjoyed that. Want to go back to that game. That game looks like it could be a lot of fun. Dead Space 3. We got a free copy for the PC. Would really like to go back to that game. Dead Space 1 and 2 are stellar games, and this one, I started it, got about 2 or 3 hours in, and it's just looks amazing. And then Diablo 3 for the 360. Even though the 360 has been moved from the main living room, I still want to get back in and play that. On the PC was fun, but if you guys listen to those podcasts when we talked about the PC version, I was stating that this game was made for a console, like between the 4-player co-op limitation, the different selection tools, the different spells and stuff like that. The interface just felt like a console game, like it was built for the controller. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I'm going to get back to it eventually. It's on my list to do. So, but other than that, actually, you know what, guys? I think we'll go ahead and we'll end there. We'll talk about Nintendo because I really want to have a good conversation about this, and I don't feel like me getting up on my soapbox is going to do it justice. So I think next week, we'll do a whole show just about Nintendo in 2014. Kind of give you a little bit of a teaser. Nintendo came out with their earnings or whatever for the Wii U, and it really had some. It was looking really grim, and it's one of those things where the 3DS did really really well, and then the seller console that they thought was going to do gangbusters end up doing terrible. So we're going to come back next week. We'll have Amanda on here. I'll try and get Nick on here, and we'll have a good round table discussion about what we feel Nintendo should do in 2014 to come back from this horrible year from 2013. Definitely was not their year. Side note, some of the side notes, 2013, all of 2013, Nintendo had their system out. So they were out in 2012. So they had a full 12 months before these next gen consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One, launched, and they still had troubles. So, we're going to be talking about what they need to do to not only overcome 2013 and get back in the red, but what do they need to, or get back in the black, but what they need to do to position themselves against the Xbox One and the PS4. I mean, they're two huge competitors, and let's face it, third party has kind of lost faith in the Wii U and Nintendo. So this is going to be, we're going to be talking, first party, what Nintendo needs to do to fix this issue. So, and we'll have, from an armchair analyst, so we'll have some fun. So we'll shelf that conversation for next week. Keep the show wrapped up at just under an hour, and then all next week, that's what we'll talk about. So look forward to talking to you guys about that and seeing what you guys have to hear. If you want, shoot me an email with what you think Nintendo should do. Maybe we can read some over the air. That's ballandchainpodcast@gmail.com. You can watch us live at ustream.tv/channel/BC podcast. You can watch all of our shows on YouTube, Ball and Chain Podcast, all one word. Or you can visit us at ballandchainpodcast.podbean.com to see all of our archived episodes, audio only, of course. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next Monday. That is next Monday at 10 o'clock at night, right here. And we'll be back then. In the meantime, have a great night, and we'll see you guys online. Enjoy your games. Bye.